You're a stranger, yeah, you know it, with your punk rock.
Hello, this is East Coast DNA. I'm your host, Darcy Walsh, and today's guest is a new band out of Truro, LeafGreen. Welcome, boys.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
So, LeafGreen, I don't think I heard of you before the last couple months.
We haven't been around.
Where does LeafGreen come from? What are the origins of this band?
Long story.
Yeah, I guess I'll take this one.
All right.
The origins of our band. I am a 12,000-year-old genie, and my lamp was stored in North America for the past 12,000 odd years. And it just kind of ended up from like yard sale to yard sale, and eventually this guy found it at a yard sale, and he needed a device to toke on. So he's like, man, this cool oil lamp that I found at a yard sale, let's rig it up and let's get it going. And he does that. When he sparks it up, out comes me, and he gets 3 wishes, and yeah, those 3 wishes basically have landed us now in this band together, and I'm serving a lifelong servitude to him for the sake of punk rock.
Awesome. So, wonderful find for you, I'm sure, as you were getting
Best
around.
trip of my life, man.
And was that a Nova Scotia flea market or yard sale you found that at?
Some kind of, like, there's, around Great Village, there's a lot of antiques, and I just happened to be kind of browsing through one of these places. I knew what I was up to. I knew this lamp was going to be used for something nefarious eventually, and the time came. I needed some light. We were in the dark, and I got the surprise of my life, and here we are, just rocking and rolling. This all happened in the last few months, so we started working right away. Jinn had been writing songs all along. They're all over the different rooms and boxes inside his lamp. If you take a look, there's miles of song. So we got to work right away and put out the number 1 single, I guess, the first single, Intro. And we're moving right along now. Got more in the works.
And was this kind of a standard genie thing where you get 3 wishes?
Yeah, he nailed me with 3. I said, okay, I know what I want. Get me the heck out of this town. Typical. I want to be in the best pop punk band I've ever heard. And just so happened that he writes some sick pop punk songs. And last but not least, I did ask for a lifetime supply of ketchup chips because I'm a little bit addicted. So
Very Canadian ask, I'm sure.
Priorities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So now, as far as the sound that you're producing, I've only been privy to the 1 song so far, which is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all Jinn, baby.
So, Jinn, do you have any earthly influences in your music? Is there some particular sounds that you're pulling from? I can definitely pull out some sounds that...
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think.
Yeah, I would relate it back to a couple of the newer bands that we've had on actually have more of a 90s sound, which is great for a 90s kid like myself.
Yeah.
But I immediately would have compared the first song to Killjoys.
Okay.
And a friend of mine that I actually shared the song with also brought up Superfriendz. So there's a couple...
There's a connection to the Superfriendz with our band.
Also, well, let's get into that then. I was kind of curious because I did mention to that friend, Stacey, hello, by the way, if you're watching this. Shout out to Stacey.
Hi, Stacey.
I mentioned that some of the newer bands that are popping up that have that sound do have some connections back into the 90s music scene. So how does that work out with LeafGreen?
Well, speaking of Superfriendz, of course, everyone knows Charles down at Ocean Floor, and that is where we've been working. I know Charles from way back. Just been taking him different projects for years, and he's always a beauty, always a great sound. And yeah, he used to play bass in Superfriendz, if I'm not mistaken. And
awesome.
And so he's a super cool guy, and he knows what we're looking for. You know what I mean? He just knows where to put those mics, man. And we've actually taken a few of these songs, you know, come from the Lamp, of course. I write a bit myself, and there's some songs from bands back in the day that Jinn kind of had his musical tendrils in from inside the Lamp before that we may be revamping and stuff. Some other bands that we've been, you know, like going back to the days of the 90s, you know, there were some bands around town like Pig and folks like that have really cool, like we're pretty, you know, big influences on us coming from Truro area as a punk band and stuff. There was a pretty good scene back in the day. We want to bring it back.
And what was the idea here to stay as a duo rather than... there's a few duo bands in this region, actually, and every one of them ends up being phenomenal. Yeah. But the standard fare would be bass, guitar, drums, and a singer.
Totally. And we actually do have
we are
a
a
bass.
three-piece.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it's something that we had to come by later. Obviously, I pulled Jinn out of the Lamp, and next thing I know, he's like, Jinn said, we can do this. Let's be the band. However, we got to take it ahead a few years. All this happened in 93. All of a sudden...
He's from the year 1993. Part of his wish of, like, get me the heck out of this town. It's kind of like a monkey's paw thing where he wasn't very specific with his wish. So, like, we time traveled from the early 90s to the 2020s. Just because of the whole, these genie wishes are more or less kind of like a monkey's paw sort of thing, so...
Yeah, he got me there, so we jumped ahead 20 years, and here we are, but it's not so bad. I like it here.
On the way to the present time, though, we made a little friend through our travels. His name is Emmett. He is a Time Lord, and he's our bass player.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's busy a lot of the time doing time stuff. You know?
Who knows what he's doing?
Bass players, right?
So where he's doing it.
The song Intro was out April, is that correct?
Just released it June 9th. It's
June 9th,
now.
okay.
It was out on Bandcamp and stuff, but you can stream it wherever you like nowadays. And we're going to follow Sweet next. We got another one coming out right behind it called Just Fine. That's
Sweet.
Another one of the Lamp archive songs. So
when can we expect to hear that out for the public?
We are planning probably July, August, around there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys sort of hitting the ground running despite the time jump.
Yeah.
So with 2 singles out, which will be pretty soon, was maybe an album in the works or an EP, something like that as a final product?
Yeah, that's always been kind of like, okay, that was one of the big things coming to 2023. Everything's different. Right?
Mm-hmm.
90s, I was throwing on an album. Nowadays, there's millions of albums to get through. You don't have time, right? So
singles.
We're going ahead with singles. We're going to release everything as a single. However, then we'll put out the collection. So there will be an EP of the first 4 singles. It's going to be called Shades of Green. And that'll contain 3 Jinn classics and a Penner original too. I'm going to have one of my own as the last single collection. So...
Awesome.
Eventually, they'll all be a part of some kind of album, and they do have sort of a connection and a theme between them, but we're going to release them individually and let them all sink in as they come.
Nothing but singles, because people have short attention spans, myself included, so just single.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it myself. I definitely, anyone watching the show is probably aware that I'm flying through different tunes all the time, so it's hard to do full albums. There's a few. Definitely anyone that bribes me with an album that's been signed, I give it a full listen a few times and try to promote it as much as possible, but there's so much content out there, it's hard.
The experience is, I love it. An album, start to finish, is something to be said. And we don't want to take that away. We want to have that LeafGreen album package too, but we don't want to bury anything either, so...
And so as a 90s kid yourself, then will there be some type of physical media down the road or wait and see what kind of traction you're getting on the singles?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a bit of a wait and see, but it's just more of a when. We definitely want to have some stuff out there because You know, I love my CDs. I love my records. Eventually, someday, once we get this ball rolling, we'll start putting probably like the album copies more so than the singles. But yeah, absolutely.
And what about live performance? You've got a 3-piece now, so that makes it a little easier than trying to get all your instrumentation out with just 2 people on a live performance. But has there been any already that I missed, or is there anything coming up?
Just a couple. Yeah, we've had a couple. We did a really surprise show up at Gus's there. I think it was called like Saving Thursday Night or something like that. And we played with Matt Steele and the boys.
Yeah.
It's a good time. And Very Jerry, that's right. Yeah, he came in last minute. And we played Monty's there a couple weekends ago, and they were just awesome people. We
Great
loved them.
spot.
Yep, great sound, had a blast. And next up is
Back to Gus's Pub
for kind of that reiteration of Rockin' for Dollars.
We just talked about that on a recent episode with the Bomb Solid. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, get it going at Gus's. It's pretty fun time. So we're excited to be part of the first one, and hopefully a few more later on.
Yeah, so you're fully integrated into the core scene. Those are some pretty legendary venues as far as the music scene goes in Halifax.
We love Gus's. We've been. Yeah. I've been in and out there with different bands for years, and CJ and the guys are great guys. Love them. Shout out.
And so you're still based out of the Truro region for now. You're playing Halifax and Dartmouth. Is there plans to try to move your music into some other areas of the province or maybe outside of Nova Scotia in the next while?
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely. And I should mention, we do have one show in Truro with Kilmore and those guys coming down July 15th, Belly Up. But I love going to PEI. Charlottetown has a sweet music scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to take us up there. Plus, I mean, I got to show this guy the countryside, right? What better place? He's got to go over the Confederation Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to play Bubba's.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Bubba's has to be on your hit list there for sure.
Yeah, definitely want to take it on the road.
Somewhere in New Brunswick would be nice to go visit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do have a couple New Brunswick musicians that follow the show, so anybody up there that's liking what you're hearing in this episode, be sure to reach out to these guys for sure. They're hungry and ready to rock. So is there other bands from Truro that you guys are, like, obviously with the Gus's scene, I think just about every episode Gus's gets mentioned at some point, so there's definitely a vibrant scene there with the bands all supporting each other. But what about the Truro area? Is there any other bands that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Definitely. Lots. There's, shameless plug for my own other band. You know, I'm a drummer, so I get leased out. But Not Safe for Work, that's our current name. It's a little bit unadvertisable, so we're actually thinking about changing it, PP. But Shadow Folk, too. You've heard of those guys?
Absolutely.
Great bunch of guys. We got some members of Walrus in there, and it's just good time.
That's the Gus connection right there.
Straight out of Truro, those are the boys, And I'm trying to think of another Truro band. I think there is a couple. You could count.
There's a lot of little things going on.
You could consider Very Jerry a Truro band if you wanted to.
I definitely would. The majority of their members are from Truro.
Yep, technically speaking. And younger groups. There's a younger group that's kind of, I don't know if they're doing too many originals or not. I can't remember their name anyways, but Truro's a happening scene. It seems to just a lot of like low-key rockers that aren't, pushing super hard, but they could be.
And I would be remiss to not give a little plug to Truro itself. The last couple episodes, we talked about venues in Glasgow. We talked about venues in Pictou. And we talked about venues in Halifax and Dartmouth, but we skip over Truro a lot. There's been some references. You mentioned you have a show coming up with Kilmore at Belly Up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the other venues in the area, I know that there's a few. The commune's reopening in Truro, so that's something that should be happening anytime. I'll have to reach out to Derek at some point and find out what the actual opening date is.
Oh, is he going to be the one open?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I do know that he was on a previous episode talking about his tentative plans, and there was maybe some intention to do some soft openings through the summer, but I think it might be a late summer, early fall opening of the venue. But
yeah, we haven't heard too much about it. But.
Yeah, you could probably, being in the region, drive around and find it, but he hasn't actually released the address yet. So I'm sure crafty people could find it. It's been worked on for a while, so I'm sure if you drove around, you could probably find it pretty quick.
Maybe like the industrial park somewhere.
That's a mission for you guys to add to your list, is you have to find where the location is so that when they have their opening, you're right there on the bill.
Yeah, let's take a picture before it's cool. Hey,
yeah,
here.
we were here before it was open.
Yeah.
So you do have a few connections up in the Halifax area. You do have some intentions of exploring a little bit more around the East Coast.
Absolutely.
You've got a strategy in place for releasing some singles. We got maybe some potential to see some live shows over the next few months.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And like you said, if you want to do a show with us, just reach out.
Yes, absolutely. People hit them up. And music videos. I know your social media game right out of the bat, you were good to go. So that's how I found you right away. I saw you immediately on social media once you started with your account.
Right.
Good.
So yeah, it's working. But music video content being that, once again, the 90s boys here sitting in the room, MuchMusic was like the lifeblood for the Canadian music scene.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yes.
partial to music videos, even though not everybody does them.
Right.
Usually there's something that you're going to put out eventually, but do you guys have intentions of doing it some sooner rather than later?
100%.
We've been working on it.
Yeah, and that was part of our plan. You know, Jinn's been here a little while, like I said, but we went ahead and started recording, started making music videos before we even made our accounts, and then we've blasted off. So we've had our first 3 singles ready to go. We got those planned out, and then we're just gonna keep that ball rolling. And we want to have, like, back in the 90s, this would have been like $1,000 easy for any kind of low-key video, at least, right? And then, but everything's so easy these days. You can just make your own thing just like that on these phones. So we are planning to do a music video for every single song that we can.
Sweet.
Whether that is just a simple lyric video or something a little more, we're going to try to get as creative as we can for everything and release them in that same single kind of mindset, like something to look at for each song. You let it go on YouTube and have something to visualize.
So where should people follow you guys? If, like I said, your social media game is right on point. So what is the best place for people to find you? Bandcamp was mentioned. So if somebody wants to throw you a few bucks, you're on all the streaming services. If anyone just wants to give you a listen, I mean, I'm sure you eventually will get a few cents out of that if you get enough streams.
Eventually, yeah. We've had a couple homies who have just dropped some dollars for us. No, yeah, LeafGreen Music's our handle just about everywhere. You can find us. We're going to start building our website here soon, so you'll be able to go to leafgreenmusic.com. And we do want to have some kind of landing page for merch of some kind. We'll probably just build that right in our website because we do have some pretty sweet designs on the go, and we've been selling them at shows, but we want to start just getting them out there available for, instant access and stuff.
Awesome. I love the merch, which you can probably tell if you look in the background of the shot here. There's
we're
merch everywhere.
in the middle of pressing some more, but we're going to send you some or something here if we can.
Cool. So if anybody is following you online, they're definitely going to have to catch one of these shows that you have coming up.
Yes, please.
New single coming up. So get in there now so you can say that you liked them before they were cool. I don't know if that's fair. I think they started off cool, but before they were popular.
Cool?
That's right. You could just be a hipster for life. We might not make it. Yeah, and you can cut this out or if you want. I'm not sure how much it's going to be possible, I know, but how much you want to talk about on the show, feel free to cut it out. We Jinn grows some pretty excellent genie weed inside his lamp, and
I do.
I told him we should be sharing that with these good people. So if you do make it out to a LeafGreen show, you'll probably get lucky and walk out with more than you came in with, if you know what I mean.
There you go. Special little bonus for people.
Yeah.
Is the LeafGreen name, now I do see a Pokemon reference, and with the artwork for the single, you could see the Pokemon reference right up front.
It's
but
very direct.
is it a little double entendre with the marijuana reference and the Pokemon references?
It,
or just
Yes and no. but,
happy
like,
coincidence?
Yeah, it is really.
It is kind of a good happy coincidence, but the main focus really was kind of like Pokemon,
Awesome.
and specifically the game LeafGreen. It is a remake of the Gen 1 games, and I feel like that's what we're kind of doing. Like, I've been writing songs for a very long time, did absolutely nothing with them, and now it's time to revamp them, bring them back into this modern time, and that's what they did with the game Pokémon LeafGreen. They just revamped the original games and made them better, and I feel like that's what I'm doing with my own music, is taking some old gems, modernizing them, and finally doing something with them.
So some old school jams with some modern sensibilities and the power of the modern age for technology and communication. I think you guys have a pretty good formula here going forward. So we're excited to see what happens next.
Us too.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you guys for stopping by today. I appreciate the extra little bit of travel that you had to do.
Thank you.
And we'll give our listeners a treat. We'll play the exit song, will be the intro.
That's right. We hope you guys enjoy.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
See you later, Darcy.
You're a stranger, yeah, you know it. With your punk rock dreams, it's a wooded scene. I feel jaded, can I show it? All this music means just the world to me. I can change it, yeah, you know it. Rearrange it just to show it.